So I think it's safe to say that I was right about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and the marketing for this game, because we're starting to see an incredible uptick when it comes to it. Now, I've discussed the sales on this channel quite a number of times with the Amazon sales charts, and we're going to reference some of that. But the big thing with the marketing of Tears of the Kingdom is already in action because of something else that Nintendo is doing right now that is dominating the airwaves and dominating what people are talking about and just dominating the movie industry right now with the Mario movie. So The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, there was a lot of discussion, talk, videos about this game is not being marketed right. People don't know about this game. Nintendo's not doing a good job with it, despite Nintendo being the market leader in first-party game sales. There's not a single first-party developer that sells more games than Nintendo on the Switch, and every single time a new game might come out, people will question how they're marketing, what they're doing with it, and then it ends up doing incredible sales-wise. We saw this with Splatoon 3, we saw this with Pokemon, even Scarlet and Violet, that game, and people were complaining about not getting enough information. We saw this quite a bit, and I don't understand why people constantly question it, but now we're seeing it quite a bit, a lot more like it, with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. People are upset that Nintendo was not talking about it more. People are upset that they're not spoiling the game and discussing everything, and they're not upset that they're talking about the dungeons or whatever else is going to be in the game, and I understand, but I think the master plan is starting to show at this point, because what came out recently? Well, the Mario movie. And what's happening with the Mario movie? Let's run down a few different facts here. The Super Mario Bros. Movie had the biggest opening day for any video game movie adaptation. It was the biggest opening day for any animated film in 11 plus markets. That's being reported. Shout out to my man Stealth for the beat on that one. Also, Discussing Film says the Super Mario Bros. Movie earns $67 million in the film's worldwide opening day, and that was a Wednesday. That's midweek, that's not the weekend. $67 million. Very impressive there. And of course, fans are loving it. The Rotten Tomatoes score, not that great, but fans are loving it. But we're not here to talk about the Mario movie and how good it is or not. I did a live stream on that. You guys can check it out. I talked about it and discussed and debated and discussed all sorts of stuff with the Mario movie, so that is in my live stream on my main page. But we're talking about what happened in the Mario movie before it actually plays. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom trailer plays before the Mario movie, one of the biggest video game adaptations of all time. Now, it's not playing in every single theater, but in many theaters, I've seen people, reports, posts that they showed off The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So you have a movie that right now the fans are going out and seeing in droves, in IMAX, in theaters around the world, and not even in every single market, but in many different markets. People are seeing that Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom trailer. That is ingenious marketing from Nintendo, especially if you want to get it more in the eyes in front of the families and the parents and all that. Then this is a great way of getting it done, especially with the movie that grossed $67 million in its opening day and is the biggest opening for any animated film in 11 plus markets. That is incredible. Now, what we're seeing is that we're seeing already with that big gameplay demonstration what Nintendo was doing with the marketing there. They showed off just a small snippet of gameplay, but as soon as those consoles drop, the special edition console, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the Pro Controller, those things started selling like crazy on Amazon, on various different places, wherever it was up for the pre-order. That's where it was selling out. And right now at this point, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is still topping the charts in many different regions. Now, usually as time passes a little bit, you might see some other games that are closer to release jump up the charts. Digital is eating into a lot of things though, so it's not quite as prevalent as it used to be. But make no mistake here, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is going to have a massive opening, and the marketing is really starting to kick in at this point. A lot of people, once again, question how the marketing was going to play into how many people are seeing this game and the sales of this game, but so far it seems Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is on a path to be easily one of the best selling Nintendo Switch games pretty much instantly when it drops. Still number 1 on Amazon. The Tears of the Kingdom Switch is still number 2 on Amazon, and it's still available for pre-order. So once again, Nintendo is loading up quite a bit when it comes to Amazon. You can pre-order that Tears of the Kingdom Switch. So very good there. And I think even the carrying case, that is still available for pre-order. That is shooting up the charts as well in various different regions in the bestsellers and also recent releases. When it comes to bestsellers of 2023, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is already at the top of the charts when it comes to any video game. So it's already outsold games and systems that have been out for longer than it. So this is tracking to have a huge launch. Now we know that in Japan, it's already easily outsold the pre-orders for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is to be expected because Breath of the Wild did not have the install base that Tears of the Kingdom has to build off of. So in the COMG, which tracks a bunch of different retailers in Japan, it's already tracking to do really well and have the biggest opening ever for a Legend of Zelda game. So you combine the star power of the Mario movie, the previews there, Nintendo's going in there in IMAX, and also with the families and everything, combine that with the huge marketing push of having a special edition console, special edition carrying cases, special edition Pro Controller, and also collector's edition. This is shaping up for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to have just such a massive launch. And I think that it is going to do extremely well here with everything all considered. Now let's talk a little bit about something else, because people have discussed dungeons, not dungeons, whatever's going to be in the game, shrines, not shrines. And I wanted to talk about this because I find this to be incredibly fascinating. I personally feel that just like we saw with weapon breaking and people saying, hey, they need to add this, right? Something conventional, something normal, a blacksmith. I think that Nintendo's going to tackle the dungeon problem that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild had in a very unique and innovative way. This might be Dungeons 2.0. This could be the new evolution of dungeons. We've always seen dungeons in Legend of Zelda games being done in a certain way. I know shrines were a variation of that, not quite a real dungeon. It was more like a mini puzzle, but it was kind of like a mini little dungeon, some of them. But I think that they could evolve this to where they put together these two aspects with shrines and dungeons. And I think that the way that they can do it is with the Ascend ability and also with the Ultra Hand. The creativity in this game could make dungeons be completely wide open, could get you to leave dungeons almost instantly if you're stuck, could get you to maybe, if you need something, go out, come back in. There's all sorts of ways with these new abilities that you can take dungeons to a whole new level. You can take shrines, combine them. You can do different things. You can have temples, fortresses, caves, all sorts of stuff to where you can combine to create something that isn't quite a dungeon, but plays like it and innovates on that concept. Not the simple, I go into here, I gotta solve this, gotta solve that, gotta solve this, go through this direct linear way, but you can do it in a very different type of way. I think that Tears of the Kingdom is an innovative game. They are innovating on all of the weaknesses that we saw with the original Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, in my opinion, from what we've seen. When it comes to the seamless open world, more verticality in terms of what you can do there with the paraglider, kind of what you're doing with the creation tools. A lot of times people did crazy stuff in order to move about Hyrule faster, and then they added a motorcycle at the end. There was a horse and a motorcycle. Now they're giving you all these custom tools to create things. So all the little issues that we saw, weapon breaking, now we have the fuse ability, they've been adding all of these different things. I think that dungeons are absolutely on their radar. I think they looked at everything people had a complaint with, but they said, we're not going to do it in a conventional way. We're going to solve it in a different type of way. So I'm very excited to see what those little spiral things in the mountains, what those are, and what they do with that Ascend ability inside caves or inside the underground or dungeons, different areas. This could be something revolutionary. I think that they have the tools and they have the minds, obviously, with what they're doing to create something that we didn't expect. People are expecting some traditional dungeons, which it could be that, but I think that they're going to take it maybe to a different type or a different level, which is going to evolve the dungeons and make them even better than maybe what they were before. So I'm very excited to see what Nintendo does there, because I don't think it's going to be like Breath of the Wild with those divine beasts and those different shrines. Like, I don't think it's going to be that all again. They're going to try something new. They're going to try something different. And I think it's going to be something awesome for players to play out there. So it's not going to be what you think it will be. Now, the last topic that I want to get into, we have a trifecta of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, is the Switch 2. I know this is something obviously is not confirmed at this point when it comes to what Nintendo's talking about, but the Switch 2 Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, there is a lot of discussion around how this game is going to be sold on the next platform, because if Nintendo takes 6 years to develop a game, you betcha that they are going to have that game on that next system. You bet they are not just going to keep that on the regular Switch and that's it. Now, how are they going to go about it with the Nintendo Switch 2? Well, there's a couple different ways, but here's the way that I think they're going to go about it. I think that the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible with Switch software. So the minute you buy a Switch 2, whether it comes out, some people are saying this year, I don't think it's going to be this year. I think it's going to be announced this year, come out next year. So let's just say you buy it whenever it comes out, right? You buy it and you're going to be able to pick up Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom right away and play it. It's an instant catalog of games for people to play. One, because they know that the Nintendo Switch was popular, so of course having a popular system, backwards compatibility of the different games, that is good. But also two, they want to keep selling that game. The next big Zelda game is not going to be ready anytime soon. After they spent this much time, there might be like a shadow or a small team working on it. I'm pretty sure there's somebody working on the next Legend of Zelda game, and that's completely fine. But that game's not going to be ready anytime soon, or they're not going to reveal it anytime soon. So you betcha that they are going to come out and say, hey, buy this game. Look at what they did with Super Mario Odyssey, right? We didn't get a Super Mario Odyssey 2 or anything else like that. They just sold Super Mario Odyssey for the whole generation, and it worked out just fine. And Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, it was so good in what they did. They had so many different ideas for DLC that they turned that DLC, not $70 DLC, they turned that into a completely new game with different ideas, with new features, with new abilities, new everything, and just evolved upon it to where it is a massive game at this point, where I actually talked about it being the best open world game. It's going to be, so watch that video if you haven't seen it, link in the description. But I'm telling you with this here, guys, I do think that Nintendo's going to want this game to be sold for a long time. So not only is it going to sell on the regular Switch, but it's also going to be on the Switch 2. And I think that the Switch 2 is going to have enhancements to that version. I do feel that there's probably going to be a patch. I think that this is the first time that Nintendo's actually going to embrace the patch update culture. They've never done that before. With Switch, obviously Wii U to Switch, it's just a new game. It was a different format, so they kind of had to do that when it comes to what they did with PowerPC, their old architecture to NVIDIA. So something they kind of had to do with the format change and everything. But with the Switch 2 or whatever they're doing next, you have that successful base and that system to go off of with 100 million plus install base and millions upon millions of games, almost a billion games being sold, pretty much a billion games being sold at this point. Their best games selling device of all time. So I am positive that they're going to want to roll that over and also have people still buy games on that system, access these shops where you can buy games on your Switch 2 and also access all of these great games and continue to get long-term sales and get the updates that you could probably get. So this could be the time. This could be finally it where Nintendo does have patches for their regular Nintendo Switch games on the Switch 2, or there is technology where it upscales it or where it brute forces it to run a bit better like the Xbox Series had. I think that Nintendo finally has a system that has that type of clout and has that type of reputation to where it can last. No other system in Nintendo's history has been able to last this long and be as popular as it is and still have people buying the amount of games that they're buying this long into the life. Even the mighty DS was already kind of fizzling out in that 6th, 7th year or so on the market. Heck, even before that, it was kind of fizzling out. Obviously, we saw with pretty much every other system, the NES, the Super Nintendo, the N64, the GameCube, everything, the Wii, the Wii U, everything kind of fizzled out beforehand. The 3DS was pretty much on life support in its last couple years. Not with the Nintendo Switch. It's still selling well. It's still selling a lot of games. So I think that there is opportunity there for Nintendo to just roll that over. And I think that Nintendo's happy with that position because you don't have to rush out that next system. Like a lot of people were trying to say they need to get out the next system. No, they don't. They don't need to rush out the next system because the current system is doing okay. You can get everything ready. You can get your launch titles ready. You can get the system ready. Nintendo's had a history of rushing systems sometimes and they come incomplete at launch. So get everything ready, get everything done, have your video games ready, and of course, get those patches ready if you're going to do that. And we have heard a little bit of rumors with that with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with some patches and stuff, but we have to wait and see. It's just rumors. It's not confirmed or anything like that. but we are going to have to wait and see on what Nintendo's going to do. But I highly think that they do want to sell this game for a number of years, just like Breath of the Wild sold for years and years and years, and still to this day sells good. So I think that's going to happen with Tears of the Kingdom, and it's going to be on the Nintendo Switch too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is here to stay. I think that there's enough creativity in the game. There's enough stuff in the game. There's enough content for people to be playing for a long time. I think it's going to be a YouTuber's dream, the people who do all the different crazy contraptions. I think people are going to find crazy stuff that me and you probably couldn't even think about at all. But I am ready for this. So what do you guys think about Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom? And check out some of my previous videos that I talked about Tears of the Kingdom, what some of the AAA developers were saying, maybe not being too happy about that. Also talking about the game just itself and so much more. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next video. Peace.